A massive new migrant caravan clashing with Guatemalan security forces on its way to our southern border. It comes as President-elect Joe Biden plans a major immigration overhaul that includes legalizing 11 million illegal immigrants already in the United States, shutting down border wall construction, ending the Remain in Mexico policy, and Biden wants to do all that without any significant increases in border security. An unnamed Biden official reportedly told NBC News that the migrants should not expect to come into the U.S. right away, and they should turn back. Ooh. But the former head of ICE says it's a little too late for that.
The promises he has made is going to entice people to come to this country no matter what he says now. It's already started. The criminal gangs have already figured out the transportation routes. The caravans are already loaded up and coming, and more is going to come. You're going to see a surge at the border that we've never seen before because of the words of Joe Biden.
All right, so Juan, if you're president of the United States or you're advising Joe Biden, and this is a pandemic, and you see this massive amount of caravan people coming across, how do you stop them, number one, and then how do you screen them for COVID-19?
Biden's been very clear. There is no open border here in the United States under a Biden administration, but there will be a more orderly, dignified process for processing immigrants coming in without demonizing people who are fleeing a desperate situation, without separating children from their mothers, without building a wall when there's no evidence the wall, was effective in keeping out immigrants. And unfortunately not so effective in stopping domestic violence. But I think Biden's job is more difficult in large part because Trump's rhetoric on immigrants was so over the top. I mean, it led people to think that, these people are coming and they're going to destroy America, as opposed to immigrants are a part of the American story. And most of us have immigrant stories in our families. So I just think that this was... when he talks about things like helping the dreamers, helping the 11 million here in the country already who are here illegally, I think most Americans think that's the right thing to do. Let's get this thing under control. Let's get real immigration reform through Congress and stop the shouting.
All right, last word, Greg.
Well, I think the caravans further illustrate that Democrats never are able to understand incentives. So if you say and announce that the walls are coming down and people can come in, you're going to get caravans. The same way when you demonize cops, you end up with fewer cops. Or when you make it known that you're not going to go after looters, you're going to end up with more looters. It's only when you put the hammer down that people stop. Trump understood disincentives, right? And so did Mexico when they took his lead. Speaking of cause and effect, when you curb legal immigration, what happened, right? You saw increased wages for minorities. You saw lower unemployment for minorities. So Juan wants to reverse policies that are going to hurt minorities. I'm not going to say that's racist or bigoted, but it certainly doesn't smell very good. And by the way, if you think that walls don't work, Juan, you mustn't like masks. Masks can't work either because they're both based on the same principle, which is that friction reduces flow. They're not perfect. The masks aren't perfect. The walls aren't perfect. But they're both based on the idea to reduce friction, which create friction to reduce flow. I'm going to be very, very interested in how the media responds to any example of misery that is connected to Biden's policies. If a tragedy happens under Joe, will it make a sound? Just like troubling police videos. Are we going to see any more of those now that Biden is president? Because those only seem to create a mobilization of media under Trump. All of these tragedies create a mobilization of media under Trump. All of these things, though, are suddenly going to disappear. And to Juan's last point, I think Joe's failures are going to be blamed on Trump, right? As Juan said, it's Trump's rhetoric. It's almost like he's laying the groundwork for Joe failing. Oh, it has to be Trump being so mean. Well, Trump's no longer president, so it's not on him.
All right. Welcome back, Greg.